The return of Willie Gay. What does it mean for your IDP team? That and more this week on the IDP Blitz. John Norton, the guru. In the eyes of the guru, what does Willie Gay's return mean for our teams?
Well, it means if you need a linebacker, he's probably available, and he's definitely available in a lot of leagues. I'm surprised at some of the ones that I'm in that he's not on a team. This is a guy that just look at what the position has done this year alone. His second game of the season, he had 11 tackles week 2. He gets suspended for 4 games. Darius Harris comes in. Had one burp of a game there where they played a lot of dime packages and he didn't play a lot. But in the other 3 games, averaged 15 points, 18 tackles, 11 assists, and a sack, and a fumble recovery, pass breakup. The position is hot. The only thing that slightly concerns me here is that Harris played so well that they may ease Willie Gay back in, or he may not get back in there full time. But Willie Gay is an early round pick. He's their guy. Back from the suspension this week. I don't know if he's going to play full time right away. You might give him this week off, but definitely pick him up and get him on your roster because the guy's going to put up good numbers.
John, let's just talk about a group of linebackers who are kind of back from the dead. Are they fully back from the dead? Jaylon Smith with the Giants, Blake Martinez with the Raiders, Deion Jones with the Browns. Is there anything there with any of these 3, at least on the horizon?
Yeah, Blake Martinez is going to depend on how healthy he is. I said from the beginning, before all that fiasco went down, he did not look healthy in the preseason game that they put him in there. He looked like he was kind of going through the motions. I think that had a lot to do with why it took so long for him to get signed as well. If he comes in and he's back close to healthy, the Raiders are going to figure out some way to get him on the field. It's hard to say at whose expense that's going to be. Right now, Divine Diablo is their every down guy. Denzel Perryman, they've got a lot of bodies there. So that's a situation we might want to avoid as far as our lineups go for a week or 2 until it pans out and we see what's going on. Long term, I think Martinez could definitely be something. I don't know if it's going to happen this year or not. Jaylon Smith, I'd like to say there's something to see here, but I really don't think there is. Basically what we had last week was Smith and Tay Crowder splitting time in a lot of single linebacker sets, and they played a lot of extra defensive backs. Dane Belton actually saw more time at linebacker, I think, than either Smith or Crowder. He was their third safety in the big nickel set. So I don't think we're going to get much out of the Giants inside linebacker situation. The days of Smith putting up great tackle numbers, I think, are over. We saw that kind of siphon through last year when he bounced around quite a bit, and it doesn't look like it's going to get a whole lot better. Who was the other guy that you mentioned?
Deion Jones with Cleveland.
Deion Jones, yes. The Deion Jones situation is a real head scratcher for me, but I'm wondering if we might have gotten a little bit of a clue with what they did last week. I really don't see them replacing Phillips at this point. They like him. He's played every snap for the last 2 games. I think they would really like to see him be the guy that they build around in that defense. But we did see Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah drop significantly down below 50% snaps last week. I've not been impressed with him since they put him in the starting lineup a while back. I would not be at all surprised if they plug Deion Jones in as the weak side linebacker in that situation and have Deion Jones and Jacob Phillips as their starters at some point. They didn't trade for Jones to have him sit on the bench. He's not a backup player in the NFL. He's going to get on the field somewhere. The fear that I have here is that we go back to what the Browns have been good at. They've shown it this year is that big rotation where none of their linebackers are on the field enough to really help us out. Hopefully that's not the situation. I'd really like to see Jones step in for somebody. If it winds up being Koramoah, then that's even all the better. But yes, definitely I like his prospect going forward.
Yeah, and the Browns' defense was just atrocious last week. So a shakeup could be coming. Definitely potential changes there. One linebacker who came back from the dead briefly and maybe back to the IDP graveyard. Quan Alexander, what's the state of the Jets linebackers?
So Quan Alexander, while Quincy Williams was out fighting his ankle injury, Quan played pretty much full time. He might have even had a couple of games where he had 100% participation snap wise. Was putting up some good numbers. So there was speculation there that when Williams came back, Alexander might stick in that every down role and Williams might be the third linebacker. That was not the case. Quincy Williams came back, was right back in his normal role, played 81% of the snaps, looked good, 8 tackles, 6 assists, while Quan Alexander was limited to 20 total snaps and did very little in the box scores. So that pretty much tells us that they are, when Alexander needs to play, he's going to get the opportunity to play full time and he will produce when he gets on the field. But as long as Quincy Williams and CJ Mosley are healthy, Alexander's going to be relegated to those third linebacker snaps.
Jets defense is on the rise. What's bad for a team is good for their IDPs. Is that the case here with Alex Singleton in Denver collecting tackles as they continue to be in these ugly, low-scoring games?
Yeah, I think that's a combination of the situation that he's in, Denver not being a good team, but Singleton put up good numbers with the Eagles. You know, sometimes we get stuck trying to figure out. We watch a guy on the field and he puts up great numbers, but that doesn't necessarily mean he's a great NFL linebacker. And we keep hearing that with Singleton, but it's hard to overlook the fact that the guy he's everywhere when they put him in the game. I don't know what it is that he's not good at, that teams don't see him as an every down starting linebacker, full-time guy, but for some reason they don't. So yes, while he's in there and playing, he's going to put up some good numbers for us. So we're on the Josie Jewell watch now to see how long it takes him to recover from the sprained knee. Who knows how long that's going to be. It could be next week. It could be next month. But as long as Singleton's in the lineup, he's going to put up decent numbers for us.
Also looking at the matchups this week, John, Atlanta loves to run the ball, so we know there's going to be a lot of tackle opportunities for Cincinnati linebackers. Earlier this week, it looked like we weren't going to see Logan Wilson for a while. What's the latest update with Wilson and the Cincinnati linebacker core?
Yeah, so when he went out of the game this week, the initial prognosis, shoulder injury, 2 to 5 weeks. I think the comment that was made is he's expected to miss several games. Now, a couple of days later, it comes out. Now they're saying that he is day to day, and they have not ruled him out for week 7. I would say that if the guy can get on the field, he's that kind of a leader. He'll get on the field and play. But I would warn against starting him just because he plays in the game. Linebackers with sore shoulders tend to be a little tentative. You don't want to drop your shoulder and hit that 220-some-pound running back with everything you got when you're already hurting. So it will cause guys to shy away a little bit, to let somebody else make a tackle, to maybe ease up a little bit. I would definitely wait and see how well he plays before I put him back in my lineup. Shoulder injuries can linger a little bit. Really haven't heard a breakdown exactly what the injury is, why it went from 2 to 5 weeks to all of a sudden 2 to 5 days. But just be aware that a linebacker with a sore shoulder tends to not put up the numbers that you normally get from them anyway. So even if he plays this week, I would try to keep Logan Wilson out of my lineup unless you don't have any better options.
Let's go out to the edge real quickly. We already talked about one Denver player. I really just want to take a moment out to appreciate Baron Browning. And I don't want to be thankful for injuries, but I'm glad that the Broncos were forced to play him. At least for now, is he the rare edge defender, even not getting close to 80, 90% of the snaps. I think he's more like 50, 60% of the snaps that we leave in our lineup because of what he's making happen when he's on the field.
I mean, we see a lot of edge defenders that are playing 50 to 65% of the snaps. Very, very rarely do you get an edge defender, be it an outside linebacker or a defensive end, that plays 90% of the snaps. I mean, there's a handful of guys that are doing that, not very many. We're going to have to settle for these guys that play 50, 60% of the snaps at some point. There's just not enough guys out there that don't to fill our lineups. Very impressed with what I've seen from Baron Browning. It's another one of those situations that when Randy Gregory is healthy, what are they going to do? I'm sure they're going to keep this guy in the rotation. They've been very fortunate there. it just seems like whoever's next guy up. We had Malik. I can't think of his last name, but they traded to Pittsburgh. Reed.
Yeah.
They traded him. He was doing well for them, but they had such a group of young guys coming up that he was expendable, and we're seeing why he was expendable with the way Browning is playing. I think him and Bradley Chubb are going to be a thing there for a long time. I believe Randy Gregory's on a 1-year deal. So I would say that after this season, it's probably going to be the Chubb and Browning show.
All right, let's go to the defensive backfield, and I'm glad that we're going to get a chance to talk about Tariq Woolen, because usually when a third-day pick, a fifth-round pick ends up on the field at cornerback as a rookie, we want to play him because of the rookie corner rule, because he's going to get picked on and he's going to have a lot of opportunities. We may see the narrative flip here quickly with Woolen already looking not like a rookie, but an IDP every week starter.
So the rookie corner rule basically is that putting an inexperienced corner out there in the starting lineup in the NFL is kind of like chumming for sharks. The offensive coordinators are going to smell the blood and they're going to go after that guy. And that, most of the time when we have a young guy starting, it's because he was an early pick. Every now and then you'll have something like this, where Tariq Woolen, late round pick, guy that they don't really have a lot of respect for going in because they've not seen him. Nobody's really played against him that much. There's not a whole lot of film. So they're going to try the guy early on. And they're finding out that he's a pretty darn good football player. I see a lot of comparisons there that make me think of Richard Sherman, starting from where he comes from, being a late round pick. Big defensive back, fast defensive back. The production's there. And if you watch the guy on the field, he even looks like Sherman with mannerisms and so forth. So, maybe there's a reincarnated Richard Sherman clone out there running around, whatever. But the guy's getting it done. He has interceptions in 4 consecutive games. And sooner or later, these offenses are going to realize that this guy is really good, and they'll start throwing away from him. Whether that happens this season or if they last until next season, eventually those numbers will fall a little bit. But right now, ride the wave. Everybody's still on a learning curve there. They'll figure it out pretty quick.
Yeah, it should see a lot of Mike Williams this week against the Chargers. A few other safety notes. Let's go to Buffalo, where DeMar Hamlin, a new name for folks, but maybe someone they should be getting familiar with when we look at the roles that he and Jordan Poyer are playing.
Yeah, I think so. Hamlin's been really productive ever since he took over for Micah Hyde. And the first couple of games, I saw the numbers, and I really didn't take the time to sit down and look and see what's happening. Well, this last week, I kind of paid more attention to see if there's something schematically there, because he's putting up better numbers than Hyde did. And what I think we're seeing is a little bit of a shift in position there. When Poyer and Micah Hyde were together, Poyer was playing a lot of that the strong safety in the box, up closer to the line a little bit, more on the strong side. Now that Hyde is out, I think they're shifting Poyer a little bit. He's playing more of the deep safety role, and they've got Hamlin playing more in that up in the box area, strong safety type role. So that kind of explains why Poyer's numbers are down a little bit, on top of the fact that he's been battling some nagging injuries and stuff and missed a couple of games. So I think he'll be fine. He's a big play guy, Poyer is. But right now, I think Hamlin's probably the hot hand. He's the guy that's going to give us more consistent numbers, especially in the tackle columns going forward.
If you want to get your IDP team hot and starting to move up the standings, make sure you're subscribing to Footballguys, getting all the great IDP information from John Norton and the rest of the IDP team. Remember, you can subscribe just for a month. Check it out. Check the results, and I think you will be sold. We wanted to have that chance. We appreciate the chance to show you what we can do at Footballguys, and we appreciate you joining us for the IDP Blitz every Wednesday on the IDP channel. You can check it out where you get your podcast. We love having you as audience because you're classy and because you play the only real fantasy football, IDP Fantasy Football.